So one day he came into my room and he said, "Baba, what is this tray all about?" So I said, "These are my favorite tools and they're very dear to me." So he saw my habit tracker there. He could read. So he
Hmm.
said, "What is this habit tracker all about?" So I explained to him.
Hmm.
And you will not believe, he was so interested. He's like, "Can you make one for me?" So I got a, printout for him, and I said, "But you have to fill it as to what you want to do."
Yeah.
And believe me, he's been doing it continuously for the last 2 months.
Wow. Lovely.
Like, I explained to him, it is, you can write down things which will, improve your
Yeah.
mental, physical, and emotional health. So he got so interested. I did help him out, what all he can write,
Correct.
you know.
Correct.
And then he was like, very simple things. Maybe he wants to, like, take, like, say, 100 steps, or he had to, like, if an outdoor game, since
Hmm.
during this time, outdoor is not possible.
Hmm.
An indoor game. I said, yeah, but something that, where you back your brains,
Right.
something physical. So, you can walk in your corridor and things like that.
Hmm.
Trust me, he's been doing it, and we both have been updating each other about a habit.
Lovely. So they learn so much by just seeing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I
And
think
also,
somewhere we should
Taiwan.
also create a mystery around it. We should not, instead of saying that ye karna chahiye, it is a good thing for you. If we just start talking about it very mysteriously, they get very interested and then they want to learn. So, maybe that would be a great way to get them into the whole process. Like it is something so sacred, and only because you're insisting so much, I'll share the secret with you. Otherwise, I would just keep it. Then that gets them very curious. कि अच्छा मुझे भी पता होना चाहिए when I want to do it. So,
Yeah.
all
Like I
right,
remember,
yeah,
like I remember initially when I started doing my gratitude two
yeah,
years back, my children are old enough. So they were like about, I think 16 and 18 that time.
mm,
So I was so overexcited about the whole thing. I,
mm,
went up to them. Could be my approach was not the right way. But, they were like, "Mom, what is all this?" And that time, like when my nephew was, so inquisitive and knowing about this habit tracker, I was like, I think, this approach is, much better. And they coming up and approaching us
yes,
is very good. So if
yes,
you're doing something that's left open in the house, I think it's more, get attracted more and
move,
faster
yeah.
than we going and approaching them to do it.
Yeah, instead of us trying to get
Yeah,
them to do it, if we just do it ourselves and do it with a
yeah,
lot of faith and do it very honestly and openly, that's such an important thing.
yes,
They get curious and they want to know what you're doing. So that can be, and making a little noise around it, maybe कि इतना मजा आ रहा है, and I'm so happy that this has
Bluetooth
happened, and
mode.
that could really be a game changer.
mm,
Okay, so we are on 6:05, and I hope everybody's got a pen and paper with you because we will be doing this exercise today. Shivani, are you ready for it? Can't hear you. You're on mute. One second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
morning, ma'am.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, all
Good
of
morning. Good morning,
you. Yeah.
Shivani. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll start.
Yeah.
Shall I
One
start?
second. Let
Yeah.
me let me just share the screen first so others can read along then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Magically transform mistakes into blessings.
Yeah.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely clear. You're absolutely clear. Yeah.
Okay. Every single mistake is a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, one second, one
Today's
second, one second. Turn your wounds into wisdom. So that's by Oprah Winfrey. And everybody, I'm sure most of us on the call here right now know Oprah Winfrey and all her stories as to how she has come, where she has come, how she had all these challenges and obstacles, and how she overcame all these challenges and obstacles in order to reach where she has reached today. A black woman, a woman who did not have any footage in the media, and yet she's made it so big today. So the one thing that she tells us is turn your wounds into wisdom. That is, what are you going to learn from this wound that becomes your wisdom? Okay, yeah, now continue. Every single
Every single mistake is a blessing in disguise. Today's magical practice will prove it. Because you're about to discover that there are actually untold blessings hidden within every mistake. A child makes many mistakes while learning how to ride, a bike to ride, and we don't give it a second thought because we know that through their mistakes, they will learn and eventually master what they are trying to do. So, why is it that adults are so hard on themselves when they make a mistake? The same rule that applies to children also applies to you. When we all make mistakes, and if we didn't make them, we'd never learn anything, and wouldn't grow any smarter or any wiser.
Okay, a child makes many mistakes while learning how to ride a bike or write. Can the others please keep your microphones on mute? Because it's on speaker view, it'll keep going onto your screen then. Yeah, thank you. A child makes many mistakes while learning how to ride a bike or write, and we don't give it a second thought because we know that through their mistakes, they will learn and eventually master what they're trying to do. I think even before we reach the stage of writing, if we just remember when a child starts to walk and how many times they fall, but do we look at the child at that time and say, "Arey, 4 दिन से तुम सिर्फ चलना ही सीख रहे हो, छोड़ो, मुझे नहीं लगता तुमको ये आएगा, ये तुम्हारे बस की बात नहीं है." I don't think you can ever learn how to walk. We never speak this language to the child. We always encourage every small mistake that the child has made in terms of learning how to walk. Let's just take the example of walking. Okay, and now imagine if we also as children gave up on learning how to walk because we fell 5 times, we fell 10 times, none of us would have been walking around today. So, when we are able to accept those mistakes and we know that we are bound to make mistakes in order to grow in life, if we accept it, if we start coming into the space of acceptance that yes, I have made a mistake, yes, I have fallen down, I need to brush myself, I need to get up, and I need to start moving ahead, we would be learning so much, so much, so much more. So she takes us back to very basic skills of riding a bike. I'm going a step further behind and I'm saying even learning how to walk. If we kept giving it up, none of us would be walking around right now. So from walking to bikes to swimming to all these things that we have learned only through practice, if we had given up on that time, or if our parents had given up on us, or if we as parents had given up on our children, we would not have moved ahead as we have today. Okay, the same rule that applies to children also applies to you. Shivani?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have the freedom to make our own choices, and that means we have the freedom to make mistakes. Mistakes can hurt, but if we don't learn from the mistakes we've made, the pain we've suffered from it has been for nothing. In fact, by the law of attraction, we will make the same mistake over and over again until the consequences hurt us so much that we finally learn from it. It's the very reason why mistakes hurt, so that we do learn from them and don't make them repeatedly.
Okay, now this is a very important concept which is called patterns. If you look back in your life, you will recognize that there are some patterns in your life. Why is it that some people keep getting into business deals, jahan again and again and again, they know they are getting into losses? Okay, why are there people who get into marriages or relationships where again and again and again it's coming out broken, or they have one divorce, they have another divorce, then they are in another relationship, their relationships are not working out? So what are these patterns that we form in our life? And it could be for anything, we are not learning what we have to learn from a particular mistake, and that is why we are repeatedly making those mistakes again and again. Okay, so let's take a very common example. Let's take an example like maybe say when you go to the supermarket and you keep forgetting to carry your shopping bag. All right, till the government did not impose a ban and say that you have to pay 20 rupees for a bag, and they've been telling us let's not use plastics, do not use start using recyclable goods and things like that. Now there is a ban on it and there is also a fine on it. I think radically we have all started carrying our own cloth bags. We have learned from one mistake in a particular way, but there are still people who continue to do it, and they're continuing to be fined for it. I've taken a very, very basic example just to say that how patterns are repeated in your life till you have not learned a lesson from it. Okay, but most times you will find these people who get into partnerships more and more and more, and every single time in their business the partnership has failed. So probably the thing that they need to learn is either you trust people more so that from day one your partnership starts working better, or you understand that you work best alone and you do not get into partnerships, because if you do that your business is bound to fail. So what is that pattern in your life that you are repeating over and over again? To break that pattern, you need to say, okay, this is what I have learned from this as a mistake, and now if I accept it, if I acknowledge it, and then I make a change on it, then I will not only break the pattern, but I will stop making the same mistakes again and again. So this is about understanding these patterns that are there in our life. In fact, by the law of attraction, we will make the same mistake over and over again until the consequences hurt us so much that we finally learn from it. It's the very reason why mistakes hurt, so that we do learn from them and don't make them repeatedly. Okay, so the minute you have made a mistake, instead of brooding about it, and I will talk about this a little later again, instead of brooding about it too much, if we look at the mistake and we say, acha, this is the mistake I have made, what have I learned from this mistake? And if my learnings become right, then we do not repeat the mistake again. Otherwise, we will go on doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah, Shivani?
To learn from a mistake, we first have to own it. And this is where many people can become undone. Because of they often blame someone else for their mistake.
Yeah, because they often blame someone else for their mistake. Now, this is very important. When you know something has not worked well, okay? Okay, let me take the example of this activity center called Nutshell Kids that I had started in 2014. So, when I started Nutshell Kids in 2014, my vision for Nutshell Kids was an activity center, which would be a skill development center, and it would be a place where children will be taught things such as mind mapping, globetrotter, English vocabulary classes, robotics classes, everything that they are not getting an exposure to in school. So for me, it was a center where I wanted to build skills in children. And very slowly, I realized that people were not interested in these skills. They were only interested that the children should be able to do their maybe their maths homework after school, or maybe do their English homework after school. They were not able to look at it as a skill development center. So either I would sit here and I would blame the people and say इनको समझ ही नहीं आता मैं क्या कराना चाहती हूँ. I'm very very against tuitions, because I feel as teachers they are doing a good job of teaching the kids in school. And if it is not happening, getting your child into the habit to go and ask your teacher, because from day one I have never sat with my child for homework, even though she and I were in the same school. And I would tell her homework means the teacher wants to test you on whether what was taught in class, have you understood that or not. And if I help you with your homework, then I am not giving the right feedback to the teacher. So if you do not understand a concept, if you're unable to do your homework, I will not help you. Go back tomorrow and ask the teacher, ma'am, maybe the concept is not clear to me, that is why I was unable to do the homework. So coming back to this, so I did not believe in this, I still don't believe in this whole concept of tuitions and maths and English and whatever, because I feel the kids can do it themselves. Otherwise, give a feedback to the teacher. But anyway, that's a whole discussion for another day, maybe, that you can't, that teachers are not approachable or whatever, whatever. So the point was that nutshell kids for me as a vision was not working out. Now, I could either say that people are not understanding what I'm saying, or I can understand that I have to be clear about my vision. I have to communicate very clearly what does this stand for, and how or what I will be doing over here in order to get the results. So, what is it that I learned from this? I learned that my vision and my communication of my vision to the people around was not very clear. That is why what I wanted and what I was getting in return were completely not in sync. So I figured out that this is not something that works for me. I cannot be in that place where I want to run the place also as a business, because you're paying rent, you've hired people, you have staff, you have salaries. So I realized I'm not the kind who can organize this kind of a setup around me. I'm not like that who can do these things. So I learned all the things that I cannot do, or I'm not fit to do, or I don't enjoy doing, whichever way whichever way I would like to look at it. But I take ownership and I say I am not okay with this, which means I don't blame others. I take responsibility for it myself. The minute we take responsibility for it ourselves, we have taken ownership of our mistake. And the minute we take ownership of our mistake, we do not repeat it and the patterns stop. And that's when we move to the last stage, where we say, so what did I learn from it? How was it a blessing in disguise for me? Okay, so there are stages, and I'll keep explaining the stages again. Let's consider.
Let's consider the scenario of being pulled over by the police for speeding and being given a speeding ticket. Instead of taking responsibility for the fact that we are speeding, we blame the police because they were hiding in the bushes on the highway and around a bend. We couldn't see them, and they had a radar gun, and so we didn't stand a chance. But the mistake was ours because we were the one who chose to speed. The
Yeah, so
problem with
this
blame,
is a very common example. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm sure all of us have been caught at some time or the other for jumping the signal, or for, at one time when they had this whole seatbelt rule or the helmet rule or whatever. And we've always stood there, and the first automatic negative thought, or the ant that bites us, is, देखो, police तो पैसे कमाने में लगी हुई है. That's the first thought that most of us have. उनका तो धंधा ही है कि they have to make money now. And now, like just last night when I was hearing the conversation at dinner table, and they were saying that the police is charging money now because the mask the person was wearing was below the nose. Okay, yes, the person was fined 500 bucks. Probably he would be, he should have been warned or blah, blah, blah. But the fact that he paid 500 bucks out of his pocket means that next time he steps out, because he does not want to shell out another 500 bucks, he'll ensure that he keeps the mask in the right place. So yes, look at it whatever you want to look at it as. Now, is the police making money out of it, or are they actually doing it because they have our right intentions in mind? That's the perspective that we need to choose for ourselves. So instead of standing there and blaming that the police is, stopping us unnecessarily, and so what, I just went immediately after the signal got over, but you don't know, the signal from the other side has opened up and it could have led to an accident. So we just look at how, or we put the blame outside instead of taking ownership of our mistake, that yes, I did break the signal, I did jump the red light. So I could have caused a lot of chaos, or I could have caused a lot of damage around me. So how do I look at that mistake and take ownership of it? Okay. Yeah.
The problem with blaming other people for our mistake is that we will still suffer the pain and the consequences of our mistake, but we didn't learn from it, and so bingo, we'll attract the mistakes, same mistakes again and again.
Okay, so let's go back to the same jumping the signal. Until you have not been caught and until you have not been fined, let's be very honest and true to ourselves. How many of us have still jumped signals till we were not caught? So we continue to jump signals till we are not stopped once and we have paid a hefty fine. And after that, we become extremely cautious. So we continue to make the mistakes because we don't take ownership of the mistake. And how do we take ownership? Very grudgingly, when we have to pay the 1,000 rupees as a fine. And then even then, the blame is outside. The blame is that the policeman चोर है कि इनको तो खाली पैसे बनाने होते हैं या why did he only catch me, 10 जने और भी तो गए थे, why didn't they catch them? So we don't take ownership for our mistake. We stop doing it because there was a fine on it. And trust me, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, and we've forgotten about the fine, and we will end up jumping the signal again until the moment when we take the
Exactly.
ownership for it and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I'm not going to repeat my mistake, not because of the fine, but because I realized I could have caused an accident for somebody coming from the other side. So this is about that. Okay. Yeah.
You are human. You will make mistakes. And it's one of the most beautiful things about being human. But you must learn from your mistakes. Otherwise, your life will have a lot of unnecessary pain.
Yes, so you are human, you will make mistakes, and it's one of the most beautiful things about being human. But you must learn from your mistakes. So it's a beautiful thing that we make these mistakes and we're constantly correcting ourselves. But if you make the mistake and you don't learn from it, you will be spending a lot of time in unnecessary pain. So like they say, one, learn from other people's mistakes, and two, make your own new mistakes. So the better thing to do over here is to make mistakes, but make new novel mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes that other people are doing. Learn from their mistakes, make your own new mistakes. But the more mistakes you make, the more will be the learning for you. If you don't pick up what that mistake has taught you, you will be in a lot of unnecessary pain. Yeah.
How do we learn from a mistake? Gratitude. No matter how bad something may seem, there are always many things to be grateful for. When you look, for as many things as you can to be grateful for one, sorry,
Yeah.
for in a mistake, you magically transform the mistake into blessings. Mistakes attract more mistakes, and blessing attract more blessings. Which would you prefer?
Yeah, so no matter how bad something may seem, there are always many things to be grateful for. When you look for as many things as you can be grateful for in a mistake, you magically transform more mistakes and blessings. You magically transform the mistake into blessings. Mistakes attract more mistakes, blessings attract more blessings. Which would you prefer? So she's got this one stop solution to everything, and that one stop solution is gratitude. So the minute you look at your mistake and you say, thank God I made this mistake so early in life, I learned this from it, thank God I made this mistake. So say, thank God I made this mistake so early in my career of starting Nutshell Kids and then stopping Nutshell Kids, because now I know all the things that I don't want to do. Thank God I started Nutshell Kids, because now I know that I did not clearly explain my vision to people. So next time I get into any business venture, I know my clarity, my communication has to be very, very clear. So taking ownership of your mistake and taking the blame for what you have done about it and then looking at it as a blessing. So it moves from one step to the other. The first step here is to look at the mistake and take ownership of the mistake, or look at the mistake and say, I have made that mistake, and taking 100% responsibility for it rather than blaming. Then the second step is, how do I convert the mistake into a blessing? And that is what she's going to be teaching us now. Yeah.
Today, think about a mistake you have made in your life. It doesn't matter whether it was a big or a small mistake, but choose one that still hurts when you think about it. Maybe you lost your temper with a person close to you and a relationship, and the relationship hasn't been the same since. Maybe you put blind faith in another person and got burned. Maybe you told a white lie to protect someone, and because of it, you ended up in a difficult situation. You might have chosen the cheaper option on something, and it went wrong and ended up costing you a whole lot more. You might have thought you were making the right decision about something, but it completely backfired on you.
Yeah, so she's giving you various options to choose from. Okay, it could be somebody with whom you had a relationship, and that is where it went sour, or because you lost your temper around it and it went wrong. It could be something in terms of your business where you constantly kept getting into similar deals because you did not learn from the first mistake that you have made. It could be something where you have you have even chosen a cheaper option on something. Like sometimes we end up buying a cheaper gadget and we say chalo itna hi use hoega, and pata chalega ki in 4 5 days it has broken out and it's fallen into your hands, and then you learn that these are things we quickly learn from our mistakes. So next time we go to buy, we don't settle for the cheaper option. We say, no, I want something which is going to last me a couple of years, so I don't want to compromise on the quality. So we learn those lessons much more faster. But what about other things? Maybe you lost your temper, maybe you put blind faith in another person, maybe you told a white lie to protect someone, and because of it you ended up in a difficult situation. So you are saying a lie not for yourself, but you're doing it to help somebody else. But because you did not speak up or did not protect yourself by getting that person in trouble at that moment, now that person is in trouble. So your white lie at one level has ended up being a mistake for them, and you made a mistake by protecting them with a white lie. Okay, so many a times what happens is we say that, who are true friends? True friends are the ones who tell us on our face when we make a mistake. But if we just tell them ha ha koi baat nahi, acha hi hai, ठीक ही होएगा, and we're not telling them what they are making as a mistake, and they end up going into a loss later, then somewhere it even pricks you that I wish I had been honest with her, or I wish I had been honest with him and told him or her that this is not something you should be doing. It'll end up, I visualize it as ending up in not the most favorable thing for you. Sometimes when they are in bad relationships or they're making wrong business decisions, and we just say a white lie to cover up and say, abhi main bolungi to uska dil dukhega, yeah, they will not like it, but they end up being miserable later. So you feel guilty about it yourself. So you might have chosen a cheap, so something, any of these things might have happened to you, and that is what I want you to be thinking about. We will read this example, and then I will walk you through the activity you have to do. Okay.
Once you've chosen a mistake to magically transform into blessings, look for things to be grateful for. To help you, there are two questions you can ask yourself. What did I learn from the mistake? And what are the good things that came out of the mistakes?
Yeah. So now, if we were to do it step by step, the first step is identify a mistake. Second step is to accept that you made the mistake. So, no blaming others for the mistake, taking 100% responsibility or ownership for that mistake. Okay. Third thing is to write down, what did I learn from the mistake, which is what? The blessings. Okay. And then that becomes your good things that come out of the blessing. So basically, what did I learn from the mistake and what are my blessings can be blended together in a sentence, like you will see over here in the example that she draws up. Only after we have taken complete ownership, that is stage one. Stage two, we thank that this is what I learned from the mistake, will be the stage three, where you will not repeat the mistake. Okay. So, what are the good things that came out of the mistake? Yeah, Shivani?
The most the most important things to be grateful for about every mistake are the things you learn from it. And no matter what the mistake, there are always many good things that come out of it and altered your future for the better. Think this through very carefully and see if you can find a total 10 blessings to be grateful for. Every blessing you find has a magical power. Write out your own list in a gratitude journal and type them on a computer.
Yeah. So now the most important things to be grateful for about every mistake are the things you learned from it. And no matter what the mistake, there are always many good things that come out of it and altered your future for the better. Think this through very carefully and see if you can find a total of 10 blessings to be grateful for. Every blessing you find has magical power. Write out your list in a gratitude journal or type them on a computer. So let's take the example of being caught speeding by a police car and receiving a fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Shivani? Yeah.
I'm grateful to the police for wanting to protect me from harming myself. Because after all, that was all they were trying to do. I'm grateful to the police because if I am honest with myself, I was thinking about other things and I wasn't concentrating on the road. I'm grateful to the police because it was foolish to put myself at risk speeding with a tire that needed to be replaced.
Okay, just one
Um,
second. I'll repeat that. It wasn't a little clear. I'm grateful to the police because it was foolish to put myself at risk speeding with a tire that needed to be replaced. Yes, I'm grateful.
I'm grateful to the police for a wake up call. Being pulled over did affect me, and I will make me watch my speed and drive more carefully in the future.
Yeah, so being pulled over did affect me and it will make me watch my speed and drive more
Right?
carefully
Yes.
in the future.
I'm grateful to the police because somehow I had a wild idea that I could speed without getting caught and without putting myself in danger. The seriousness of the police made me face up to the fact that I was putting both myself and the others in serious danger. I am grateful to the police because if I think about my own family being put in danger by the other speeding drivers, then I definitely want the police to stop speeding drivers. I'm grateful, I'm really grateful to the police for the work they do in tiring to ensure the safety of every person and family on roads.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to the police. They must be heartbreaking there must be heartbreaking situations every day. And all they're trying to do is protect my life and my family's life. I'm grateful to the police for making sure that I arrived home safely and walked through the door to my family as I usually do. I'm grateful to the police because of all the possible consequences that could have stopped me from my speeding. The police pulling me over was the least harmful consequence, and it could have been the biggest blessings in my life,
Biggest blessing of my life. So
of my
look
life.
at how many new perspectives she has brought out by just one, being pulled up for one speeding ticket, right? From the fact that she can reach home safely to the fact that it has saved so many other people's lives, to also thanking the police that they are doing tirelessly day in and day out. We don't have to really stand in our balconies and clap once in a while like we did in the lockdown. That was a great gesture. But every single day, instead of cribbing and complaining, like what was happening yesterday. Ki, you know, it's a very common thought, not just of ours, but people around us, because they say, unko to paise banane ki naye tarike chahiye. That's not the point. Have we ever stopped by and thought how many hours in the day the traffic police are standing on the road, day in and day out, whether it is the hot crazy sun in Chennai or whether it is the rains, they're still wearing their uniforms plus their raincoats and with an umbrella, with whatever, and they are still out there. So look at the hardship, the physical hardship that they have to go through in order to be there, and how they are protecting us. But we don't look at it from what it is teaching us. Instead, we only look at it from a point of view which says, acha, they're doing this, chalo isne to aaj apne paise bana liye, and he's going to have his drink at night, and all kinds of thoughts that we have. And we have this whole vision of these policemen, which is so wrong, because it's taking us away from the very thing that they have done in order to protect us, that we are not taking into perspective. So even if we can just look at this one mistake that she has given as an example, and each of us here who's listening or who's watching it on YouTube, if we can make that little shift. I think Vibha, your mic is not on mute. Can you please put it on mute? It's coming on screen again and again. Thank you. So even if we can make this little shift in terms of the way we look at the police from today, I think we've learned our lesson for the day. And if we can make a shift and say, all the things that I am learning by just speeding, by just breaking the signal one time, by not wearing the seat belt, by whatever things that they pick us up and for fine. In fact, now the fines I'm hearing is more about if your mask is not in place, or if you are not closing your establishment at 6 o'clock sharp, or if there is no social distancing which is being maintained, and which is very rightly so, if they don't fine us, because sadly we understand the language of money much before we understand any kind of warm messages or warnings that are given to us. Okay, so the very fact that they are teaching us, or they are telling us and giving us signals that we are not following it, if we just start following what they are asking us to do without first being fined, that itself will be a great step forward. Okay, so yeah, Shivani, I would strongly urge you.
Actually, the host had muted me. Now it's unmuted.
Okay, yeah.
I would strongly urge you to take any mistakes you've made in your life and that you still feel bad about, and in your own time, follow this magnificent and magical practice. Think about it. Through one mistake, you have the power to bring many blessings. What else guarantee dividends like that?
Yeah. So what else guarantees dividends like that? So I'll read from here, because I'll just explain it more and more. Thank you so much, Shivani, for reading and coming prepared today with your headphones and all. Thank you so
No,
much.
headphone I'm using every day, ma'am. I just
Yeah.
needed
Okay.
Vaishnavi's laptop.
Okay.
Because the voice isn't clear, because
Yeah.
I don't want to disturb my husband, so I use that.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you. So let's look at sorry, I would strongly urge you to take any mistakes you've made in your life that you still feel bad about, and in your own time follow this magnificent and magical practice. Think about it. Think about it. Through one mistake, you have the power to bring many blessings. What else guarantees dividends like that? So you have made a mistake, and once you have blessed it, first you take ownership of it, and then once you have blessed it with everything that you have learned about it, it's going to reap back so much more to you. It's going to give back so much more to you. So magic practice number 26, which I will want all of y'all to do it with me right now, and that is why I wanted you to sit with your pen and paper. Magically transform mistakes into blessings. Count your blessings, make a list of 10 blessings, write why you're grateful, reread your list, and at the end of each blessing, say thank you, thank you, thank you, and feel as grateful for the blessing as you can. Choose one mistake you made in your life. Okay, find a total of 10 blessings you're grateful for as a result of making that mistake and write them down. To help you find blessings, you can ask yourself the questions: what did I learn from the mistake? And what are the good things that came out of the mistake? Just before you go to sleep tonight, hold your magic rock in one hand and say the magic words, thank you for the best thing that happened during the day. Okay, so now this is how we're going to do it. I want everybody, one second, I'll just stop sharing this. Okay, so what I want everybody to do is think of one mistake you have made in your life, all right? And to simplify it further, I'll give you examples of different categories. Maybe a mistake you had in your lifestyle. So it was something health related, okay? And how that was a mistake. It could even be a mistake as simple as waking up by 7:38, right? And if you consider that a mistake, then now that you're waking up early and you're taking ownership of that, how is this waking up early working for you, right? So you write that down as your blessing. So something, or when you suffered from a particular disease, or you had something which was very life threatening at that level, if you have experienced something like that, right? And if you understand how you have converted that mistake into a blessing by taking ownership of it, and then saying everything that I have learned, and then it comes to another step. And the next step is when your blessings can be converted into opportunities to teaching someone else. And that's a very, very long process, okay? But I'm sure a lot of y'all know Nirja Malik, and you know how she's been a cancer survivor, and how not only she took ownership of what she went through, she looked at it as a blessing, because today she is helping thousands and thousands of people through her work, through her book, through her inspiration, to get better. Okay, so what probably would have been the biggest life changing moment for her has today given her a purpose in life. And I know of a very dear friend who is in Calcutta and who's also a cancer survivor, and how she has converted after surviving from cancer. She knows how food that she consumed and how food helped her to get back into health. And today she has created a whole line of products, with a store, with hampers, with things that you can buy online, all that she has created to help more people out, so that when they go through something like this, they can get better. Understand, a mistake where she did not take care of her health, or there was a lifestyle shift, or whatever be the reason why she got cancer in the first place, we're not getting into that, and that's not important for us. But she made a mistake, she took ownership of her mistake, she started working towards it and getting better and better at it herself. And today that mistake, after taking ownership, has become a blessing in disguise, because it has given her purpose in life. Okay, so if I look at myself and I see the situation, so this was something related to health. For me, I'll say something related to my career. So all along, I was working as an experiential educator, and this 1 year was completely seeped in that, from 2019 to 2020, with all the camps that I did. And somewhere at the back of my mind, I had that my daughter is now getting into grade 10, and I would like to spend more time with her board exams and everything. Okay, and had the pandemic not happened, I would not have started getting myself reorganized as a clarity coach, because I enjoy my experiential camps so much that even with my daughter's grade 10, I would have probably not wanted to stay back at home. But now I feel the pandemic was the greatest blessing in disguise for me, because it helped me recreate myself. I had the skill sets. I started putting together more things for myself, and I have come out stronger as somebody that I know I'm good at, and something that probably I would have taken up a little later on in life. But now the pandemic has forced me, and it's a blessing in disguise, because it's now giving me all the opportunity to be with my daughter when she's doing her grade 10. So how do we look at it and we convert the blessing and look at it as a blessing in disguise and say, what is the opportunity I get out of it? So look at your small mistakes, look at your big mistakes. So whether it is something to do with health, something to do with your career, your growth, something to do with your relationships. If you look back and say one relationship which went sour, but what did that relationship teach you? What did it teach you in terms of changes you need to make in yourself in order to get better? Okay, and how do I now start behaving with other people so that I don't lose these other people in my life? So that's the blessing in disguise. That's the lesson it has taught you. So whether it is something with your relationship, your health, and your how you are in terms of your body, and the third thing could be your career and your growth, and the fourth thing is something to do with your money. Where have you lost that money? Okay, so have you made some bad investments? So that is a mistake that you have made in the past. You have given money to people, which what we call a kache ka paisa and everything, where there is no documentation, and now that money has been lost. So what am I learning from that? So look at these mistakes and say, first, take ownership that I have made that mistake, and then write down 5 things. I'm not even getting into 10 because it's 6:48, and today I need to wrap up really sharp at 7. So what are the mistakes, 5 mistakes, 5 things I have learned from that mistake? Okay, and write it in the form of a blessing. So you write, thank you so much for so and so, I have now learned this. So it still starts with a thank you. And trust me, those patterns in your life will stop the minute you have learned from your mistake. Okay, so any doubts, any clarifications on this, anything? Yes, Rachna. Yes.
So today, so we are talking about money. One of the mistakes in our money matters, in our relationships matter, in
Yeah.
our health and
Yeah.
and
Health
just
and
three,
career and growth.
career.
Yeah. So
And
I'm not asking you
if
to
I
get,
don't have a career,
no, no, no,
no.
no, no, no. I'm not asking you to do for all. I'm saying
Okay,
you can
okay,
choose from any one.
okay. So just one.
Just one. This is
Okay.
just for right now. If you have more mistakes that you want to take care of, that's fantastic. We've all made zillions of mistakes, right? But right now, as an exercise, I want you to only look at one. It could be from any of these. I was just giving you an example that it could be from any of these. It could be from something in your health, something in your career and growth, something in your relationships, and something from your money. Okay, the example I gave you was about my mistake in my career, the mistake I made in my career. Yes.
The example that you gave about pandemic was
Yes.
not your mistake.
No, but I learned from it. It was a
Yeah, but
situation.
learning you can. But
Yes.
I'm just asking you.
Yeah.
Learning
That's
you can.
right.
So learning from a situation is one thing, and learning from a mistake is something, because you're
Yeah.
less regretful, less guilty
But
when it's not.
no, you know what happens? It's easier for us to blame it outside.
Okay.
It's easier
To
for us to
understand that.
say, yeah, that
Okay.
we quickly say, Arey, what do I do? I can't help it, but this pandemic has happened. Now that is not in my control. So it's always easier for us to blame the situation. And that's why I brought that
Situations. Yeah.
example
Okay.
out,
Okay.
that we say that I would have continued doing my experiential camps. Now I have to put a pause to it. That's not my mistake. It's because of the pandemic. But what am I looking at it as? I'm looking at it as a blessing in disguise.
Opportunity.
as an opportunity, because I wanted, it was my desire to be with my daughter when she was in grade 10, and see how the universe conspires. Please don't blame me for the black pandemic after this. Please don't say ये रुचि के साथ हुआ है, उसको अपने बच्चे के साथ रहना था, हम सारे अटक गए हैं. Please don't do that. I'm just saying, for each of us in our lives, the pandemic has come here to teach us something, right? So even if it is making a shift in the way we have started taking care of our bodies, I mean, the kadhas that we are having, the warm water we are having, the ghar ka khana we are having, the learnings that we are doing in terms of, online classes, in terms of mornings or whatever. So the relationships that we are building on, spending time at home, taking care of things that really matter. I have been, following this minimalistic movement for past 3 years. And it's a beautiful movement which teaches you to live with less so that you experience more. And I've been wanting to do it forever, but sale चालू होते ही हमारे कदम तो पहुंच जाते हैं मॉल में, है ना? So वो whether वो चाहिए या नहीं चाहिए, we end up buying a lot of stuff. So now I'm looking at the pandemic as the beautiful thing which has got me into that minimalistic mode by force. So everything around that huge pause that has come into our lives, we would have never imagined giving ourselves so much time to our health, our fitness, our nutrition, our learning, our sleep, our catching up, playing games. None of this had it not been for the pandemic. So how are we looking at even the situation as a blessing in disguise? Right?
Excuse
So that's why I use that. Yes.
Ruchi, I had
Yeah.
a doubt.
Yeah.
You said
I
we are
can't see
mistake.
you. Sorry.
Yeah, my camera is off. But I
Okay,
just had
Dimple.
one doubt. Yes, Dimple.
Yes, Dimple.
Now you said one mistake, but what
Yeah.
are the 5 things that you learned or you put it as a blessing? How
Put
do you
it
put
as
that
a
5?
blessing. Put it as a blessing. Start it as a blessing.
So could you give me one small example
Yeah.
of it?
So, like, for example, if I'm talking about, say, my nutshell kids, and it went, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out. Thank you so much for nutshell kids. It taught me that I have to clarify my vision more clearly to my market.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, like we even read, let me just see if my book is here, that I don't have to share my screen, but I will read it from the book straight away. That the way she says it, no, thank you. She takes us back to that example of the traffic guy, right? And she says, look at the way she's starting the sentence. I'm grateful to the police for wanting to protect me from harming myself, because after all, that was all they were trying to do. So you start your sentence by saying, I'm so grateful that this happened because it taught me this. So you
Thank
are
you.
being grateful for the mistake you have made, because it is now teaching you something in return.
Yeah, it's so clear now. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I hope everyone is sitting down. You've identified one mistake, and I'm asking you to just do 5 blessings on it. If you go on
Right away?
Yes, right away. Please do it right away.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
please write it right now. That's why I want you to sit with your pen and paper, identify one mistake. Okay? Could be anything. Like I said, your health, your wealth, your career, or your money. It could be, or your relationships. It could be anything. Yeah, thank you. I think that's Mittal who's written it. I resonate with you, Ruchi, for the same mistake, starting the craft cafe, taken total ownership of it. I think the minute we stop the blame game and we say that मुझसे ही हुआ है, मैंने ही किया है, I think that itself makes a big shift. That itself immediately is a huge change that comes about it.
But ma'am, doesn't it sometimes work in the opposite way, that you start self-beating yourself over it?
No. So the minute you say that I have made a mistake, I take ownership for it, and now what did I learn from it? That's when it becomes a blessing in disguise. Okay, so you're not self-beating yourself, because if you don't come to the third stage, then yes, you are self-beating. But she's given us a whole process. First, acknowledge you have made a mistake. You're aware of your mistake. Second, you start writing down why you're grateful for the mistake, because then you're saying, I have learned so much out of it. So then you are not blaming yourself, you're not self-pitying, but you're saying, chalo acha hua, jaldi hua, taki ab mujhe samajh aa gayi. It's that. Right, and we use this language many a times. We use this language unknowingly. We say that, good, now you've learned a lesson. But have we really internalized the lesson, or are we just saying it verbally? The minute we've internalized the lesson, we've broken the pattern. And the minute we break the pattern, the mistakes stop. The same things stop coming back in our lives once we have acknowledged it, once we've taken ownership of it, and once we say, thank you so much for the mistake. I have learned my lesson. So stop coming my way. That's when you are not self-pitying, but you are taking ownership. In fact, it's very empowering. It's very empowering when you have taken ownership and you've converted it into a blessing for yourself. Yeah. Is it easy to identify the mistake? Is it easy to do that?
You've
Yes.
given such a beautiful example, pandemic. I think everybody, I think most of us will do that.
Lovely, lovely.
And by now we all become pros at finding things to be grateful for, and written
Yeah.
them already.
Lovely, lovely. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah.
So, Ruchi,
Yeah.
okay,
Archana,
so,
yes.
yeah, the mistake I identified for myself was, okay, I met with a very bad accident.
Okay.
Okay, this was maybe about 5 years ago,
Okay.
and I was driving back at night, and my car totally toppled over,
Okay.
and nothing happened to me out of it.
Okay. Okay.
And so, of course, my biggest mistake was I had a drink and I was driving.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to know, how exactly do I put it down?
Yeah. So I'm first and foremost, I'm so grateful that I'm alive. And I'm so grateful because that one accident has now taught me not to drink and drive. That itself is important. I'm so grateful that nobody was hurt in the process.
Yes, okay.
Grateful if the car insurance gave you the insurance back, or whatever happened around it, that thing. I'm so grateful there was nobody else in the car with me at that time, so nobody else was hurt. I'm so grateful today that I can help or tell other people my experience so that they don't get hurt by this. So these are all your lessons. But
Okay.
your biggest learning is, I'm sure you will always call somebody else to drive for you after a drink, so that itself is a huge learning. And
Yes.
I will not, you have the fact that nobody else was injured, and
Yes,
today you
yes.
are hale and hearty and sitting here in front of us is the biggest blessing. So that is what it has taught you. So
Okay. So
thank you
that's
so
what
much
I
for
put
sharing.
down.
That's a huge thing to share. Yeah.
I didn't know whether I was doing it right.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And these actually become huge change. These are very big changing points in our life.
Yes, yes.
Very, very big changing points. And some of these examples, or some of these people that you read about, and how a huge event in their life actually turned their life around for them totally. Like, I know of so many people who've lost their husbands very early in life, and then how the women have taken over the business, and they have, or have started schools, or have started doing something in which they have attained a lot of fame, success, everything. So actually, if their husbands hadn't died, Very sad. The
I know.
situation is very sad. If their husbands had not died, they wouldn't have reached the pinnacle of success. So something that was an adversity that happened to them, but how it converted into a huge success story for them. It's only later that they can put the pieces together and say, actually, if that had not happened, this would not have happened.
Yes, yes.
And we know, like the example I gave you of Nirja, or this friend of mine who was in Calcutta, and her whole product line of organic food and nutritious food or cancer fighting foods or everything, she says that, in my wildest of dreams, I would have never thought I'm going to open a store, get so much into nutrition, but had that not happened to me, I would not have known
True.
why I am doing this. So sometimes these adversities give us a purpose in life, right? But that is the universe sending you a magic cube. You have to pick it up. The universe is not giving it to you on a platter. The universe is saying that I'm showing you various ways in which you can find your purpose in life. But if you are not going to pick it up, you'll continue living in that. There are so many cancer survivors. Why don't we have more people who are like Pooja Malik, or who are like this friend of mine from Calcutta, Prabha? Why don't we have more people like them? Because they've probably not taken ownership. They've not looked at what we can do now with their mistake to give back.
Correct.
So that is converting that. That's why they say it's a blessing in disguise. So what's the disguise? The disguise is because it's giving you, it's hidden. Your purpose of life is hidden inside that cape. Take that off. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. So good. It's 7:03 and I have to go a little early today. So I'm going to wrap it up, but I will quickly ask you, and I will just repeat what we need to do in terms of, if you have not done the exercise right now, please make sure you do the exercise in terms of writing down one mistake of yours and how it has converted into a blessing. And like Rachna said, if you can't think of anything else, think of the pandemic and say, what has the pandemic given you? That itself will be a big shift in how you start accepting the situation around you. And once the acceptance comes in, understand the stages. First, I accept, I become aware of my mistake or the situation. Second is I start writing down everything that I have learned from it. And we start by writing it in the gratitude language by saying, I'm so grateful this happened because it taught me so and so. Okay, so you will write that down. If you have just written 5 now, please try and extend it to 10. Otherwise, 5 is also good to get started with. And you will not forget your 10 blessings in the morning and your magic rock. I'm feeling like one doctor again and again prescribing the same medication, but I will do it. And I hope you all keep that in mind and look at your mistakes in a very different light. Okay, right? Yeah. Did somebody want to, yes, Vanita, definitely you can read tomorrow. Thank you so much. Tomorrow is my favorite chapter because it's got a lot to do with Kareena Kapoor. So please be on time tomorrow, like everybody has been on time. She's my absolute favorite, and this chapter is my absolute favorite.
Ruchi, one quick checker.
Yes,
See,
Ruchi.
I'd been losing money by giving advances to all the servants.
Right.
And I'd been keeping on doing that. So whom should I thank, servant or myself?
Yourself. You have the money.
Okay.
You have the money and you are making life important for them, or you are making things easier for them. I mean, we talk about charity, na? So why do we want to do charity for some fund, someone somewhere जहाँ हमको पता भी नहीं है पैसे कैसे use होएगा? ये तो आपके आँख के सामने you're helping somebody else out. So you should have so much gratitude. It's not a mistake if you want to look at it like that. If you're losing money by getting into business propositions, that is a mistake to learn from. Right?
Okay.
But if you're
so I should not count this as a mistake.
I don't think it is a mistake. What do you think?
No, I'd been giving advances and all of them have never showed their faces.
Again.
Ah.
Again,
Yeah.
yes, never.
So then you have to see whether you are giving the advances in the right way. So is there some kind of a commitment that you
Okay.
are seeking from them? So
Okay.
you'll have to think deeper about that. And if you think, I mean, when nothing else works, I just go back to pranic healing and soul. कि चलो मेरे पिछले जन्म के कुछ कर्म थे, मेरे
I
कर्म
also
खत्म
think
हुए.
that only, but if just in case if I have to learn my lesson hard, that don't give any more advances, but I still end up in giving all the advances to
That's
old
okay. You're
people.
helping people out.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, Ruchi.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Ruchi.
you,
Thank you
Ruchi.
so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys. And I will
You
see you all in
too.
the morning.
Have
Yes.
a nice divine day today.
Yes.
May the
Thank you.
puja bring
Yes.
all the blessings.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruchi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruchi.
Yes. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Rishi.
Thank you,
Thank
Ruchi.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruchi ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruchi.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you.